Hello everyone, it's Jeff again, and I am home in Montesano, Washington at Lake Sylvia on a beautiful fall day. And today, I want to tell you about making videos. I have been making videos for about 2 years now, and I have made 101 videos. And I have enjoyed every minute of it. But there's some things about making videos that I don't like, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. You see, when you come up with the idea, like I do, of making a video, you have to find enough supporting material and information and everything about something to make a video about it. And just because you have the idea to make a video doesn't necessarily mean that it ends up being a video. And that's basically what I want to talk about today. One of my favorite videos I have ever done was the story of Winston Churchill in December of 1931, who was struck by an automobile in New York City and very nearly died. You see, Mr. Churchill had looked the wrong way as he stepped between two parked cars and was struck by an automobile. And the reason that Mr. Churchill nearly died was he refused to allow the ambulance drivers to take him to the hospital until the police showed up, so he could tell the policeman that it was not the driver of the automobile's fault. He accepted complete responsibility. That shows the caliber of man that Churchill was. The world would be a much different place had Neville Chamberlain still been the Prime Minister of England at the outbreak of World War II. Another one of my all-time favorites was wigwam burners. They are an iconic part of my youth. Nearly every town where I grew up had one. This one was from a few miles away from where I grew up in Clatskanie, Oregon. And I really enjoyed making this video because it was something that was part of my life, part of my childhood, part of childhood memories, and I really enjoyed it. And now we have arrived at what part of this video is about today, because I would dearly love to do a video about the object you see in this picture right here. I don't even know what they were called. They were, I don't know, some kind of a light that they were everywhere in my youth. When you went to buy a Christmas tree in a Christmas tree lot, they had them. They were usually alongside the road by fireworks stands. The 5 and dime store in one of the towns I lived in when I was a child had them in their parking lot. I don't even know what they're called. They were everywhere, though, and they are slowly disappearing. You still see them from time to time. You never see any of them turned on. I wouldn't even know where to begin to do research to make a video on them. This one is an orphan in a small town of Ozora, Missouri, alongside Interstate 55 in an abandoned parking lot. Where would I begin to tell the story about, as a child, going to the Christmas tree lot to buy a Christmas tree and having them lit and sitting in the car while Mom and Dad went and picked out a Christmas tree and watching them? How would I tell that story? Where would I begin? How would I tell the story about when I was a child and my parents bought a Vista Cruiser station wagon used from a car dealer in Chico, California, and I sat and watched these lights on the car lot while they went in and filled out the paperwork for the purchase of this used car? How would I tell the story of Sewell King Crocker, a bicycle racer and mechanic who is a distant cousin of mine? The information that you see about this man is different everywhere you look. Some places say he was born in Walla Walla, Washington, and others list it as Tacoma. Some places list his burial as Aberdeen, Washington, which is not 10 miles from my house. And yet, other sources say that his ashes were scattered at sea. Mr. Crocker, born in poverty and unknown, was the first person to cross America in an automobile when he was the co-driver for Horatio Nelson Jackson, who was a very well-known doctor, and together they drove across the United States, leaving San Francisco in 1903 and arriving at his home in Vermont. Like Sir Edmund Hillary, who was remembered for climbing Mount Everest, but the Sherpa, who was there also, is largely forgotten. The little town that I live in has a historical society. It's housed in a very old and run-down church off of the main street in town. And I have gone down there and searched their archives on several occasions for ideas to make videos. Now, I have made some videos with their help, like The Wild Man of Wynoochee and a couple of others. But every time I've ever approached them for information on a particular subject, they always want me to make a video about an incident that happened while they were filming a movie a long time ago. The movie that they want me to make a video about is Ring of Fire, which was a B-movie made a long time ago about a fictional forest fire that happened in the area where I now live. And the premise of the movie is that the forest fire breaks out and all that they had to do to put it out. And they are attempting to bring a train from Tacoma back to the area that I live in, and the train ends up going off of the trestle. I have several problems with making this video. The first of which is they burned the trestle for the making of the movie, and the trestle had been there for a really long time, and it was creosoted timbers, and they burned them, and all of these timbers fell in this beautifully crystal clear, pristine river that is full of salmon and trout. And the second problem that I have with making a video about this incident is the Hollywood production company that was in charge of filming left the locomotive and all of the cars in the river when they left. They basically just shrugged their shoulders and said, well, I don't know how we would ever get the stuff out of the river, and they walked away and left it. And so for 60 years, the Wynoochee River outside of the town that I live in has an entire train submerged in the middle of this, what was a very pristine river. And I think that that is horrifically sad. The story that I would really like to tell, the one that I lay awake at night and think about, is this particular building right here, 200 First Street. When it was built around the turn of the 20th century, it was the telephone exchange office. They had a small business office downstairs, and they also had a very small switchboard with a couple of girls that made all of the calls throughout the town in the area. They lived upstairs, and they had a dormitory where the girls lived. You had to be between 17 and 26 years old in those days to be a telephone operator, and you had to dress very prim and proper, and you could not have an accent of any kind to be considered. And I think it's a fascinating story that this building was purpose-built, was the telephone exchange building for years and years and years and years, and then was empty for a long time after the telephones became automated, and now it's a yoga studio. And I think that that is a very interesting story. But I have searched the archives, and I can find no record of the building being built, no photographs. It's really disappeared out of history. I mean, you ask the people in town at the Historical Society what they remember about the building. Oh yes, I remember as a child going there with my father and paying the telephone bill. And I remember the girls in there at working the switchboard and making the calls. Have you thought about making a video about the train wreck on the Wynoochee River? Yes, I've thought about it. And here I am today in Tupelo, Mississippi, standing out in front of the house that Elvis Presley was born in. As I stand here, I am thinking about what my next video will be. Remember, everyone, think good thoughts, do good deeds, and I will see you on another adventure. Thank you. Thank you very much. Elvis has left the building.